All right. Oh, no. I got the wrong thing. There we are. No, Malchut. There we are. Okay. Do you see the Dvar Malchut here? Yes? Everyone sees? Yes. Huh? I hope.
Yes, we could see it.
Okay, good. Very good. Okay. So what have we been learning? We've been learning about Moses going in to Paro together with God. And God says to Moses, let me just stop this 1 minute. All right, so what do we learn? Moshe was afraid to go into Paro because the source of Paro is tremendously high, and God had to go in with him, so to speak. What's the whole idea, God going in with him? That Moshe wanted that these revelations of God, which are above understanding, above the world, above the whole creation, which at first glance should knock out the whole creation. I'm just going to mute here. 1 second. There we go. Oh, there we go. Okay. Above the, which should just blot out everything. It's just too high. That's why Moses was afraid to go in. He was afraid that it would be just too big of a revelation and he wouldn't be able to take it. God wanted that he should embody this revelation here in the world. And he should even more, he should bring it into the world. This is before the Jews got out of Egypt, right? This is before the temple was, before the Torah was given, before the temple was built. This begins the whole entire service of the Jewish people to reveal the essence of God into this physical world. Oh. One minute. What happened over there? Just 1 second. Yes, that's right. Okay. I don't remember. We did this yesterday. Here we go. Okay. Okay. Alpiz, according to this, I don't remember that we did this here. Okay, let's do here. Here we go. And the source of it is like this, that, good, excuse me for the delay, that okay. Similarly, we find in the beginning of Moshe's mission to take the Jews out of Egypt. Moshe says to God, Lo ish devarim anochi, I can't speak. Kavod peh v'kavod lashon anochi. Something's wrong with my mouth and my tongue. Lochen therefore said Moshe, Shalach na b'yad tishalach. Send whoever you want. I can't go. Mevur b'kama makomos explains in many places Shebegalut Mitzrayim that in the exile in Egypt, Dibur Moshe, that Moses was in exile. Lochen therefore Tan Moshe said, Sha'al Yado, by means of him, lo yochla liot geula. I can't take the Jews out of Egypt. The whole power of Moshe was in speech, and Moshe was in exile together with the Jews. Right? I can't, if you want somebody to redeem the Jews, it has to be somebody from the outside. I'm inside, I'm in the exile. Well, this is because you can, in another way, it's because Moses was too high. That Moses on his own was Bedarga was such a level, he couldn't speak. He was too high to bring his holiness into speech. The Torah. He was higher than the written Torah and the oral Torah. Kavod peh, it says that he was hard of speech, his mouth, something wrong with his mouth. That's the written Torah. Baraita. Kavod peh, that's the oral Torah. Kavod lashon, it says that's the written Torah. That's what it says in a book which is called Zohar, in the Zohar. That's what it says in the Zohar. That Moshe simply couldn't come down that low. The Torah was below him. He couldn't come down so low. Moshe was covered peh. Why? Because his source of Moshe came from the world of Tohu. That the source of world of Tohu is before anything in this world. Shesham oyu orot gedolim. There was such tremendous lights of revelations of God that they couldn't be put into vessels. That's what the whole idea, the breaking of the vessels. Remember, we learned about that. Zeo, this is Inyan kavod peh. That's what it means that Moshe was hard of speaking, his mouth. Lo haya yachol. He was not able hashpia or sichlo latoch kliya peh. He was so high and so elevated that he was not able to come down into the world and relate to the Jewish people, even in matters of Torah. Therefore, he said to God, Shalach na biyati shalach. Send whoever you want to. Moshiach, send the Moshiach. We learned that before. Remember, we learned. Dahainu mishu olam atikun. Send someone who is in the normal fixed up world. Because there's vessels that can hold the lights. Okay, there's what's called the order of God's 10 sfirot. We learned about this. God has a personality. So it's very complicated, really. And God, in order to make a world, so the Kabbalists explain what the process is, how God made a world. Because without this thinking about the process, you can just take the simple Torah narrative. God is like a big angel or something, and he has this unusual power, and he created the world, and that's it, right? That's the story. And the world is just floating around, and God is he's still around, he's still here. And once in a while, he gets interested, he goes and visits the factory once in a while that he built, to see if everything's going okay. So, but that's not so. The fact of the matter is that God is creating everything now. So how is he creating everything now? It doesn't make any sense. How is he doing it? So it's a very complicated process. Very complicated process. Part of this process is that God made this big thing called a contraction, a concealment called a tzimtzum. And after that, all these different worlds came out, these different levels. One of these levels is called Tohu. It means tremendously revealed godliness, but no lights, no vessels, no vessels, just pure holiness. And there's no world or levels or even spirituality to hold it. That's called the world of Tohu. And that's where Moshe came from. His soul came from this world of Tohu. It was so tremendously high and holy that he couldn't express himself in the world. He couldn't be in the world. He was just revealed God everywhere. It was like being in the Holy of Holies all the time. The high priest, when he went into the Holy of Holies, he didn't talk to people. He didn't send out any messages. He had a microphone and he talked to the people, right? He was tremendously just one with God. What does this mean? Who knows? But he couldn't. Okay, but Moshe was in that level, and he was so high that he couldn't come out. It was like he was in the Holy of Holies all the time. He couldn't come out. It was too high. Therefore, God said, therefore he said, send somebody else. Therefore, God said, Misam Pelo Adam. Who created the mouth? Halo Anochi, I did. Anochi Ayem Picha, I will be with your mouth. Fariticha, I'll tell you what to say. Mitzad Atzmuto, from God's essence. Shu Kol Yochel, that God could do anything. God, after all, he created all these lights and all these levels. B'hu Makor, he is the source, the kliyapeh, to people's mouths, the olamatikun. And this world is fixed. How did God create the world? Through his mouth, it says. V'orod marubim, and these big lights of tohu, God creates the whole business. So God said to Moshe, I am able to cause that also in exile, and even in exile, the Galus Mitzrayim, and even by Moshe, that on himself was so tremendously high, he couldn't put it into any vessels. Yagilei dibur peh. Moshe, you'll retain your holiness, but I'm going to give you even a higher level of holiness, that you can bring it into the physical world. Anochi, I, the essence of God, will be with your mouth. What does it mean? Shemitzad sharshach, because of your source from Tohu, Moshe, you're so high and holy, you have not got the kalim, the ability that enable you to come into the world. Anochi, but I, God, she'asiti at the kalim, I'm making all these vessels. of tikkun, in the world of tohu, I am able to transform So God said, I'm going to be with you. I am above all. I'm creating the whole business, says God. I can come down and do whatever I want to. I'm coming into a world. I'm speaking to you. How is God speaking to Moshe? That's also God is coming down. Even though that you, Moshe, are so high, but I am God. I am making all these vessels and the world of Tohu, Tikkun Tohu, and I can transform lahafech, davar. I can transform everything around. Litarev bechinas Tohu, and I can mix up this world of Tohu and Tikkun together. In other words, the highest of highest levels can come into the physical world. Hainu hamalut shneim, the good qualities of both of them. That there'll be tremendous lights, and like they are in Tohu, and there'll be tremendous vessels they are in Tikkun, in this world. Okay, what exactly does this mean? What does it mean? Let's maybe I can take an example. I'll make up an example. Let's say you have a person, a tremendous genius. Like for our purposes, let's say Albert Einstein, right? Albert Einstein. So you have Albert Einstein is a tremendous genius. Everybody agrees he's a genius, right? And even the big professors, a lot of them, they didn't understand him. And it says, okay, all of a sudden there's a necessity in America. They have to have more geniuses. They have to have 100 million geniuses, like Albert Einstein. How are you going to do it? What are you going to do? Who's going to teach all these people? Right? How are they going to? Nowadays they have the video. You watch the video, you don't understand anything. You watch the video, right? You can watch a video. You know how to run a car. You watch the video 1,000 times. Only special people can understand what's going on. You have to call up and talk to somebody. How is Moshe? How is anybody going to make? How are you going to get so many people? Says, well, it's very simple. You take children that are like from 3 years old up, they can talk. And that they will be, geniuses like Albert Einstein. That's ridiculous. That doesn't make any sense. How are you going to do it? He says, watch, I'll show you. Right? Someone goes and says, okay, everyone turn on channel 5, look in my eyes, say after me, I am a genius. Oop, that's it. All of a sudden, how can they be? There's little children, 3 years old, they don't know how to say, how to speak yet. They don't know how to say, I want an apple or whatever. All of a sudden they're going to be talking about nuclear physics. You can't do a thing like that. Well, that's what God did even more. God took pure godliness, which is infinitely, infinitely higher than Albert Einstein, which Albert Einstein, who knows if he was even right? There's always people coming and saying, up to now, it seems that he's right. He had ideas about how the world works. Here we're talking about the source of creation, the source of all being. Moshe was at that level. He was very high. But how are you going to bring godliness down as far as godliness goes? A child, 3-year-old child, and Moshe are the same thing. God can take Moshe and say, you're a genius, and the child is I'm going to change it around. The children are going to be geniuses, and you'll be 3 years old. God could do whatever he wants to. But to take essence of godliness and to bring that down into the level of Moshe, how are you going to do it? So God said, that's what I'm going to do. You're going to go into Paro. That's going to be the way. You're going to take Paro, which Paro is this tremendously high level of light, and you're going to bring it into the world so that everyone in the world is going to be able to feel what godliness is. And that's Moshiach. It says Moshiach is going to come. The whole world will be filled with the knowledge of God. Ella ba'cha'az, then in Egypt, God said, I will be with your mouth. There was a revelation in a miraculous way. And when Moshe spoke to Paro, Dvar, his words were proper. And Nosef Lakach, in addition to this, also Aaron was also, says, you're a prophet. He was your spokesman. But Dibarto I love, you'll speak to Aaron. The Samtet Davrim Bepiv, you'll tell Aaron exactly what to say, and Aaron will speak. Hu Yelachalapeh, he'll be. In other words, Moses did speak properly. He spoke properly. But because Moshe said, I didn't want to talk to Paro, so Moshe said properly to Aaron, and Aaron gave it over. In order that the word should be revealed b'shleimut in a complete way. But also, that it shouldn't be the words of Moshe should come out because of the miracle that God did with Moses' mouth It should come out a natural way. Avahu lo yitrapeh, but Moshe did not get healed. When did Moshe get healed? And he spoke to all the Jewish people. When? And therefore, afterwards, Moshe said, Ani are also Vasayim. Even afterwards, Moshe said, I am, what is it, the uncircumcised lips? My lips are all closed up. When did Moshe really get healed from his speech impediment? Which here he says his speech impediment was because he was so high, he couldn't bring it down. When God said in Mount Sinai, Anochi, on Matan Torah, I will be with your mouth of Matan Torah. When God said the beginning of the 10 Commandments, by the way, when the 10 Commandments were gone, it says that everybody got healed. All the blind could start suddenly see, the deaf could hear, the crippled could walk, Shalom, the mute could speak, and therefore, therefore Moshe had the ability to bring about going out of Egypt. Even though that his speech was in exile, but God made the breakthrough with him. And then Moshe was affected by the exile more than anyone else. He couldn't speak. He couldn't come down so low. But God made it that he could. That Moshe's speech would be totally revealed in the whole world. So therefore, there had to be, first of all, the breaking of the klippa of the shell of Egypt. Now, again, this stresses the idea that the world is a good place, and that everything that covers over this good is called klippa. Klippa is a shell. And the whole thing of Egypt was that they were totally clinging to the shell. They didn't want to reveal the good. They didn't want to reveal the good. They misused the good. How could they break? By means of Anochi and Picha. God said, I will be with your mouth. Zemivi, this brought afterwards at Gilui, the revelation of God's speech at Mount Sinai. Anochi Hashem Elokecha. So what's going on over here? God wants to reveal his essence, his goodness, his, the vitality in the whole world to all mankind. But he can't do it. Egypt is preventing him. Egypt is a big shell, a big, hard wall standing between revealing God and the world. And this wall covers everything, the whole entire creation. Because God is creating everyone. And the fact no one can feel it is because of this thing called Mitzrayim, Egypt. In English, it's called Egypt. It doesn't really have much connotation. But in Hebrew, the word Mitzrayim means limitations, smallness. And everybody feels, I'm small, I can't connect to God, I'm far away, that God doesn't exist, who knows? That's the Egypt inside of each one of us. In order to reveal this, you have to have a Moses. And Moses, he reveals the good that's already inside of everyone. It's not that he invents something new. It's just that he reveals something that already is there, that everyone can discover the good inside of them. But in order to do this, you had to break the shell of Egypt, and it had an effect on Moses also that he couldn't speak. So God said, don't worry about it. I will be with you. This I, the same I, was the beginning of the I, Anochi, that God revealed in Mount Sinai. I am God that took you out of Egypt. As then, Moses got healed totally. According to this, Yuvan, we could also understand the whole idea of Baal Paro, come to Paro, of holiness. And that because of this, Moshe was afraid. Moshe, because of his level, covered Pev, covered Lashon, that he could not speak, and he could not, his mouth and his tongue didn't work. Why? Because he had so much light of God that he was too high above the vessels. Therefore, he worried. How can any vessels receive these tremendous lights, the Espril and the Horn, that come from Paro? Paro is even higher than Moshe. This is the novelty that God commanded Moshe, Bo, come with me to Paro. Ayaleh, that Kodesh Baruch God took Moses, Idrin Bater Idrin, chambers after chambers, higher and higher. God gave to Moses the power, Koach HaAtzmos, the power of the essence, Shakelim, the neshama, that the power of the soul in a body, a normal human being, Yochlo will be able to receive the inside of all of these revelations of the essence of God. And again, what does it mean, the essence, the revelations of the essence of God? It means more and more health, more and more love, more and more vitality, more and more truth, more and more honesty, more and more life. This priuvis galim inei kol and there will be revealed all of the lights. The tam, and the reason for this is because zui taklis, this is the whole entire purpose and the completion of the whole Seder Ishtalshus of the creation of the world. That's why God created the world in the first place. This is not just an extra added attraction like Noah and his ark. We'll get saved and everyone else will, die in the flood. Or we'll go to heaven and everyone else will be condemned to, right, to to eternal perdition. No, not so. Everyone in the world will feel who they are. Everyone in the world will feel the Creator that's creating them. That's the whole purpose why God made the whole world. To do this thing which seems to be impossible. Ad lebechinas paro. You can even this level of paro will be revealed. Paro says the ispario is revealed all the lights. Why? Because that's why God created the world. That's the goal. Nisava Kodesh Baruch Hu, God wanted liot lo, that there should be for him dira b'tachtonim, a dwelling in this physical world. So it's waiting for us. It's not, it'll be a big novelty, but we're just revealing what's there. Shememedida v'hagbala, the neshama b'guf, that it should be that in the limited world of souls inside of bodies, b'tachtonim, in this physical world with houses and cars, yagilei atzmos will be the revelation of God's essence. Lochen hoya, that's what it says. Vayomer Hashem al Moshe. God said to Moshe, Boro Paro, Shebiyot and Hashem Baguf, that when Moses, being a soul in a body, a human person, he could go into this level of Paro, of holiness. We said this, and he could receive a kolet, and he could eternalize at the Giluyim all these highest revelations from God's essence. She's Pariu, Vizgalim, Mine Kolanorim, all the lights. And that's why this thing had to be, this we can understand why coming into Paro was a preparation for the future redemption, as we're going to talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. And now let's do the Yom Yom for today.